Good afternoon, welcome to Vanika. We will discuss current affairs of 12th November, December. This is December 12th, and now first topic is why countries have failed to meet their biodiversity goals. Okay, biodiversity means diversity of species that exist around the environment, that is called as biodiversity. So the delegates of from 196 countries participated in the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity (CBD) are meeting in Montreal, Canada from December 7 to 2021 with the aim to hammer out new global agreement on halting environmental loss. So there is plan to work for a new global agreement, right? If anything is stopping environmental loss. On halting environmental loss, new type of agreement will be created. Many of the 24 conservation targets under the discussion of 15th Conference of Parties COP15 aim to avoid past mistakes and improve the world's last set of conservation goals, that is AC biodiversity targets that expired in 2020. No single country met the all 28 AC targets within its borders according to the September 2020 UN assessment. That means whatever we have targeted up to 2020, no country has met the target. So either we are not working the way we are promising, we are not working, or the targets are too high, or the challenges are there are so huge number of challenges are that we are not able to address those challenges. So what are the possible challenges? For example, lack of technology in the developing countries, they will not, or lack of fund among the developing countries, that is a real challenge. And so far as the developed country is concerned, they are ignoring the issue. Developed countries, they have higher based on the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. What do you mean by common but differentiated responsibilities regarding climate action? Just a second. Okay, what do you mean by common but differentiated responsibilities? Common but differentiated responsibilities. What do you mean by it? Common but differentiated responsibilities. Okay, this means developing country will do less with respect to climate change, and what developed countries, they have to contribute more with respect to climate change. Developed countries will spend more money there, to the GCF or GEF, Global Environment Facility, or Global Environmental Fund, right, Global Climate Fund, that is GCF. So developed countries will pay more to counter the climate change. So maybe that is why developed countries are not paying that much, and they are not adhering to the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. So all are failing the targets. If a developing country is failing the targets, we can understand their causes that they lack resources, so they are not able to. They lack technology to address the issues, so they are not able to solve the issues. But if the developed countries they are suffering, then that means they are not interested, or they are not interested to sacrifice for larger goal like the problems of whole world. They are only concentrating for voting, voting behavior or development of their inside country. They are not thinking about the outside countries. Okay, next. Next, what is about the AC targets? What is this AC targets? AC targets adopted during the 2010 CBD summit in Nagoya Protocol. CBD summit, Convention on Biological Diversity Summit, Nagoya, located in Japan's AC prefecture, included goals such as reducing deforestation by least half during the coming decade, curbing pollution so that it no longer harmed ecosystem. Many of the targets, however, include a vague language and didn't hold countries to specific action. So, what specific action you will do? There is vague language also, right? The not clear cut goals to the countries, right? So, reducing deforestation at least half. That means the amount of forest we are cutting, that should be half than what we are cutting at today. So, and another thing is that yes, and curbing pollution, and to take various measures to curb pollution. What particularly to do, nobody is saying. How much to curb the pollution? No clear cut targets has been given. After the AC targets, they are expected to devise their own national biodiversity strategies that would mimic the goals laid out by AC. Nearly all parties created their strategies, but most of them are never fully implemented. Right? They have made the strategies, but there is lack in the implementation part. So, implementation of these climate actions, they need to be strengthened. Okay, there is lack in the implementation. Also in the legislation, also there is also delay in legislation. So all the problems exist. To what extent the 80 targets met? The most notable AC objective and one of the few include numerical goal to conserve 17% of all land and inland waters and 10% of the ocean by the end of this decade. Conserve 17% of all land. Some progress was made towards the goal. The world ultimately fell short. Today, about 15% of world's land, 8% of ocean territories are under some form of protection. Right? They will protected area. 17% of all land, we have to declare they must protected area. That is national forest or sanctuaries or botanical garden or zoological garden. So there should be protected area. So there should be undisturbed area. There should be scope for the growth of the various species. About 10% of the targets show no specific progress. The assessment found 6 of the targets, including the land and ocean conservation target, were deemed partially achieved. Right? 6 of the targets, land and ocean conservation target, partially achieved. To shorter extent, that is achieved. For example, Government of India has declared around from 49 wetlands, Government has declared 75 Ramsar wetland in just a span of 3 months. Within 3 months, we have increased our Ramsar wetland sites from 45 to 49 to 75. It's a significant achievement, significant declaration. So we have increased our areas of conserved areas, right? According to AC targets. Similarly, we have declared new tiger reserve, 52nd tiger reserve, 53rd tiger reserve, 54th tiger reserve. These all are declared within the last 6 months. So in the last decade, gradually we are increasing our Ramsar wetlands for wetland conservation, wetlands of international importance conservation, and also we have conserved uh, various terrestrial ecosystem. Okay, so in among around six of the targets, there are ocean conservation target deemed are partially achieved. We have marine sanctuary at Gulf of Mannar, right, to protect the dugong or sea cow. Next, who? Issue of finance, a lack of financing. Our biggest issue is finance. To help the developing countries meet their AC goals was also obstacle to their success. This is the biggest obstacle, right? Because developing country do not have the resources even if they want. Suppose India want to do a lot regarding climate change. India is the topmost performer in the among the G20 nations with respect to climate change, right? A point has led negotiators to include financing plans with the draft being negotiated by the Montreal talks. Another thing is that a developed country, they are the responsible. They are the countries who are responsible for climate change because they are the industrialized countries. They have even today their per capita energy usage is much more as compared to the developing countries like India, right? So in such a situation, as the problem is created by the developed country, now they should spend money and reimburse the developing countries because developing countries are being suffered because of the climate change. Right. Global Environment Facility, the primary source of financing international biodiversity protection, has collected around $5 billion from 29 countries for funding period from 2020 to 2026. 5 billion, while the target is $100 billion per year. That is hardly enough to make up 7 years. Now we have we have a target of 711 billion funding gap per year estimated by 2019 assessment. Okay. The AC targets also failed to garner buy-in from governments beyond the environmental ministers who brokered the deal. It is not the matter to be left to the ministries of the environment alone. This is one of the lessons to be learned from the failure of the AC biodiversity targets. Okay, not there is hardly enough to make the 711 billion funding gap per year estimated by 2019. Yes. So this was a target, but it is much less than the target. The AC targets hardly also failed garner buy-in from governments beyond environmental ministers who brokered the deals. It is not a matter to be left to the ministries of the environment alone. This is the lesson to be learned from the failure of the AC biodiversity targets. Right? We must learn that we have failed to achieve the targets of AC biodiversity targets. We have failed to achieve the target. Amended Wildlife Bill leaves scope for the transfer of captive elephants and retain the center's power to declare species as a vermin. Now it is a new topic, that is Parliament passes Wildlife Bill. What is this Wildlife Bill? Leaves scope for the transfer of the captive elephants and retain center power to declare species vermin. How could live elephant trade, human life conflict could be impacted? There is now human wildlife conflict, especially in case of elephants. Elephants are killing human beings in multiple places of India. The Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2022, which was passed by Rajya Sabha, was invited scrutiny by two major issues. The exemption made to allow the transfer of captive elephants and sweeping powers given to center to declare species as vermin. Right? Captive elephants and declare the species as vermin. That means if they are, yes, see, if elephants are coming and they are destroying the agriculture, they are destroying the lives, so whether, and that is endangered species as well. Simultaneously they are endangered species, and another thing is that there is a prized domestic animal for there, it is prized domestic animal persisted for long, that is a good source of income. And another thing is that they are losing huge amount of agricultural crop and agricultural resources. Okay. The Elephant Preservation Act prohibited the killing or capture of wildlife elephants unless self-defense or to protect property or crops under a license issued by district collector. Yes, prohibited the killing or capture of wild elephants. In 1987, you cannot kill and kill or capture the wild elephants. Right? Under license. If they are going to, then you need the license of the district collector. Okay. Next. In 1927, the Indian Forest Act listed elephant as a cattle, prescribing high fine for 10 rupees 10 for every impounded jumbo in comparison. A cow attracted a fine of rupees 1, camel appropriate 2. The Wildlife Protection Act 1972 identified elephant along with bullock, camel, donkey, horse, mule as a vehicle, so they can be used. Given the highest legal protection 1977, elephant is the only animal in the Wildlife Protection Act which can be owned legally by means of inheritance or gift. A means of inheritance or gift, elephant can be owned. Okay. Then turning the clock back in 2003, Section 3 of the Wildlife Protection Act prohibited trade in all captive wildlife and non-commercial transfer across the state boundaries without the permission from the Chief Wildlife Warden. So all the captive wildlife, that means you cannot interstate transfer of the wildlife, that cannot be done without the permission from the Chief Wildlife Warden, because huge poaching has started in these times. Poaching means killing them for multiple purposes, for bag purposes, for all these things. WPA Amendment Bill 2021 proposed an exception to Section 43. These sections shall not apply the transport of any live elephant by a person having certificate of ownership, who such a person obtained prior permission from the state government of fulfillment of such conditions as may be prescribed by the central government. So it has proposed. So if you are taking the permission from central government and fulfilling the restrictions by the state government, then only you can transfer such type of animal. Along with conservation and animal welfare groups, Parliamentary Standing Committee headed by Congress leader Jairam Ramesh objected to the blanket exemption, recommend that it should be limited to temple elephants kept for a religious purpose. Except temple elephants, no other elephants can be transported. Under pressure, the government modified the exemption but worded the amended clause vaguely to allow the transfer and transport of captive elephant for a religious or any other purpose by a person having valid certificate of ownership, subject to such terms and conditions as may be prescribed by the central government. So, in which of permissions central government by the, if the rules made by central government, if anybody is transferring the elephants, then there are only permissions from the central government and certain rules need to be followed. It is vaguely mentioned. Critics point out that prohibition of commercial transfer only drove the live elephant trade underground as traders switched out to dressing of commercial deals. As gift deeds bypass to 2003 amendment, the sweeping ambit of any other purpose in the present amendment, they say, will empower elephant traders, but wild population at greater risk of capture defeat the very purpose of Wildlife Protection Act. So, if this transportation permission will be easy, then that will destroy the very purpose of Wildlife Protection Act. Okay. So this create a big issue, right? Because now they can be traded very easily, or these clause can be misused easily. A counter view 2003 amendment didn't benefit captive elephants who suffer their owners when their owners fail to bear the expenses. Many elephants they suffer because their owners fail to bear the expenses, particularly in the post-COVID scenario, and allowing such owners to transfer their elephants legal to those willing to and capable to looking after the animals is a welcome step. So those who are interested, they can make the ownership transfer of those elephants. Now the problem is the damage due to crop depredation by the wild animals has never been computed, but for lakhs of farmers around the many protected forests, it is the biggest challenge to livelihood. Not mention the occasional threat to life. Not to mention the occasional threat to life. There is also threat to life. In every month, we will see somebody is died somewhere in a particular state because of the elephants. Since 1972, the Wildlife Protection Act has identified few species: fruit bats, common crows, and rats as vermin or nuisance animals. Vermin or nuisance animals. Right. That spread diseases or destroy crops, right? Rats or fruit bats, and are not protected under the act. Killing animals outside this list was allowed. Animals outside this was allowed under two circumstances: given the sufficient reasons, species other than those according to the highest legal protection, such as tiger and elephant, not the wild boar and nilgai, can be declared vermin at a certain place in a certain time, right? So, for example, to save life in such regions, in such cases, also you can kill a particular animal. But generally, vermin means nilgai. They destroy huge amount of crops, so that they are threat to livelihood. So they can be killed. That is not declared by the Wildlife Protection Act. In Schedule B, vermin is declared. Usually, it is declared as vermin. Under Section 11 of WPA, Wildlife Protection Act, the Chief Wildlife Warden can allow the killing of an animal irrespective of its status in the schedules if it becomes dangerous to human life. Now, under Section 11, if it becomes dangerous to human life, then you can, irrespective of status in the schedules, you can kill a particular animal. The state governments took a decision under Section 62 of 1991 when the amendment handed these powers to the centers. The purpose was apparently to restrict the possibility of eliminating large number of animals at a species level as vermin. Under Section 11, states could issue culling permits only locally and few animals. So, state government also they can declare a particular animals as vermin or that is can be killed if they create a bigger threat to the human life and human livelihood that by destroying crops. Sweeping and selecting. In recent years, however, Centre has started using the power under Section 62 to issue sweeping orders declaring species as vermin even at state levels, often without a credible scientific assessment. So, Centre has been declaring vermin, right? Without scientific assessment, Centre has been declaring vermin. So, that is a big threat to wildlife protection. And the very purpose of Wildlife Protection Act can be violated based on the issue. For example, Nilgai is declared vermin across 20 districts in Bihar for year 2015. The centre cited large-scale destruction of agriculture as a ground for declaring monkeys as vermin in the Simla municipality. Yes, monkeys, rhesus macaque, that declared as vermin because they are creating very huge problems toward the population in the Simla municipality. Large-scale destruction of agriculture in 20 districts. Nilgai has in 20 districts large-scale destruction of agriculture called by the Nilgai. The issue since has entered the realm of central state politics. Since the last year, Kerala's request for declaring wild boars as vermin has been turned down repeatedly by the environmental ministry. That is a politics between central and the state also as you well, right? Because if a state government is opposition states and the people are facing the problem because common man they do not understand who is responsible for what, who can declare a particular species as vermin, whether state government or central government. So if they are facing the problem, obviously they will blame the state government due to the wild boars. And government, if central government is not doing to for political purposes because it wants the state government to be blamed, then that cannot be done. Nothing can be done. But if that is a genuine thing and government realize that it will affect the environment to a significant extent, then government can address the issues, right? That is they should not be that means they should not be declared as vermin. That is wild boars, this should not be declared as vermin. Any other challenges we can make any other arrangements for them or something like that. So that is turned out by the Environment Ministry. Wildlife target crops either because there is insufficient food inside forest or because field offer more nutrient alternatives like sugarcane or maize. Insufficient food inside forest. Why they are coming here? Because there is insufficient food inside forest or because fields offer more nutrient alternatives like sugarcane and maize. They are more interested to eat sugarcane. Suppose the elephants are more interested, they love to eat sugarcane than the leaves of the jungle. So obviously they will come to the human settlements. In the first scenario, stopping their access to non-forest food by electric fences, etc. may make them starve and bring down the population over time. Besides, locally contraception such as electric fencing divert animals to the next village, merely shift of conflict, use extensively turns forest into fenced zoos without enough food. So if you are restricting a jungle with fencing, that means you are making a zoo, and that is a threat. Electric fencing can be done, but that will if any village is electrically fenced, that will create problem for the next village. So we have to think how we can address the problem overally without endangering life of any particular area. In the second scenario, measures such as creating buffer zones that crops do not stand with the edge of the forest. Creating buffer zones. That means just adjacent to the forest, there should not be any agricultural land, so that agricultural cultivation, so that they will not get food. Right. Elsewhere, the only option is to reduce the number of habitual crop raiders. Reduce the number of habitual crop raiders. Those has become habituated in attacking the crops, they must be transported or something like that. Effective compensation schemes work. Right? There should be compensation scheme for those who are suffering the problem. Okay. The absence of legal option has stopped farmers from secretly hunting problem animals. Yes, the absence of legal option has not stopped farmers. So there is hunting is also going on. Such unregulated calling encourages practice that often extends poaching of non-pest rare endangered species. So such type of habit that create a problem, so that even those who are not responsible, those animals are also poached for various reasons, for their skin or for the leather, or medicines or any other purpose. Sweeping orders that allow large scale culling at the species level also promote the same trigger of apiculture. There is no alternative to site specific time bound approach based on scientific evaluation. So there should be some site specific rule, not overall rule, and time bound approach that should be addressed. The issues of the local population is also need to be addressed, and by scientific evaluation, what process we can apply at which area. That's the important thing. Okay. Next is the Himalayan medicinal plants under IUCN Red List. 3 medicinal plant species found in the Himalayan have met with to the IUCN Red List of threatened species or the research assessment. That is Mesotrophis pellita. It is one species that is critically endangered. That is, the number is very few. Then Fritillaria cirrhosa. It is vulnerable. Dactylorhiza hartagriza, that is also endangered. So there are 3 species that are declared in IUCN Red List. That means they are the species, endangered species, threatened species. This Mesotrophis pellita, common name is patwa, is a perennial shrub with a restricted distribution, that is endemic to Uttarakhand. Patwa, it is endemic to Uttarakhand. The species is listed as critically endangered based on limited area, that is less than 10 square kilometer. It is within less than 10 square kilometer. This is critically endangered. The species is threatened by deforestation, habitat fragmentation, and forest fires. So patwa, it is in Uttarakhand. Very important for prelims. Patwa species, it is declared as critically endangered. That is in Uttarakhand. The essential oil extracted from the leaves possesses strong antioxidants, can be promising natural substitute for synthetic antioxidants in the pharmaceutical industries. So these are antioxidants. We are using various type of chemical antioxidants, so it can be extracted. The oil can be extracted and used as antioxidants. Then Fritillaria cirrhosa, Himalayan fritillary, is a perennial bulbous herb, reasonable to control decline in at least 30% of its population over assessment period. So the decline of 30% of its population. Consider the rate of decline, long gestation length, poor germination potential, high trade value, extensive harvesting pressure, illegal trade make it listed as vulnerable. So it has become vulnerable because of the illegal trade and extensive harvesting pressure. Okay, in China, this species is used for treatment of bronchial disorders, right? Bronchial disorders, that is pneumonia. The plant is also strong cough suppression. So to control the disease like cough or bronchial disorders, this Himalayan fritillary is being used. Then Dactylorza hartagria salam panja is threatened by habitat loss, livestock grazing, deforestation and climate change. Livestock grazing, deforestation and climate change. What is this Dactylorza hartagria? This is salam panja. Salam panja, Himalayan fritillary, and it is extensively used in Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and other alternative system medicine to cure dysentery, gastritis, chronic fever, cough, stomach aches. All these things can be solved. What is this IUCN? IUCN is founded in 1948. IUCN founded in 1948. It is International Union for the Protection of Nature. International Union for the Protection of Nature. Following international conference at France, Fontainebleau, France. The organization changed its name to International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, and Natural Resources in 1956. Acronym IUCN, with its headquarters at Gland, Switzerland. Gland, Switzerland is the headquarters of IUCN, not Geneva, Switzerland. It is Gland, Switzerland. To influence, encourage encourage and assist societies throughout the world to conserve the integrity diversity of nature, to ensure that any use of natural resources is equitable and ecological sustainable. Right? That is yes. So to promote sustainable development, to conserve the diversity and integrity of nature, IUCN is established. IUCN members include both states and non-governmental organizations. Both states and non-governmental organizations. What are the private areas of IUCN? It is biodiversity, climate change, sustainable energy, human well-being, and green economy. Green economy means sustainable economy. Okay. Red Data Book. It is published a Red Data Book. IUCN publishes Red Data Book, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature treats threatened species not a single category, group of three categories, that is vulnerable, endangered and critical endangered, depending on the degree of which they are threatened. There is a Red Data Book where every species is mentioned, especially the critically endangered species, that means whose population is very low, they are almost going to extinct. Then there is endangered species, less severe. They are critically endangered but more severe than the vulnerable. And the vulnerable is less severe than the endangered, but it is declining. The population is declining. That is vulnerable species. That is IUCN Red Data Book. Critically endangered species. Critically endangered is the highest risk category assigned by IUCN for wild species. Critically endangered species means a species numbers have decreased or will decrease by 80% within, or decrease by 80% within 3 generations. It is therefore considered to be facing an extremely high risk of extinction in the wild. high risk of extinction in the wild. Extinction in the wild. Critically endangered species. Endangered species is a population of organisms which is at risk of becoming extinct because it is either few in numbers or threatened by changing environmental predation parameters. Also, it could mean that due to deforestation, maybe a lack of food or water, therefore considered facing a high risk of extinction in the wild. Extremely high risk of extinction in the wild, that is critically endangered species. The high risk of extinction, that is endangered species, and then there is vulnerable species which has been categorized as likely to become endangered. So it has always circumstances threatening the survival. If you are not protecting the particular species from vulnerable species, it will be endangered species. And extinct. A species becomes extinct when last existing member of the species dies. Extinction therefore becomes certainly when there is no surviving individuals that are able to reproduce or create a new generation. That means every species that dies, that becomes extinct. A species may become functionally extinct when only a handful of individuals are survived. Which are unable to reproduce due to poor health, age, sparse distribution over large range, a lack of individuals of both sexes in sexually reproducing species, and other regions. So that becomes extinct. That means the last individual also dies. An important aspect of extinction at present time is human attempts to preserve critically endangered species, which are reflected by the creation of the conservation status extinct by the wild. Yes, another thing is that extinct by the wild. That means in wild there is another category. That means in jungle they are no more. As their numbers are very few, they are conserved in a protected area. Species listed under the status of IUCN are not known to have living specimens in the wild, maintained only in zoos or other artificial environments. Some of these species are functionally extinct. They are no longer the part of the natural habitat. It is unlike the species will ever be restored in the wild. Right? Some species whose number are very few, extremely few. They are protected under controlled environment or they are protected under they are under surveillance. Proper surveillance, so that otherwise their number will be zero. प्रधानमंत्री मंत्री सुरक्षित मातृत्व अभियान. The Union Minister of State Health and Family Welfare informs Lok Sabha that progress of प्रधानमंत्री मातृत्व सुरक्षा अभियान. The government of India has launched Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan with an aim to promote fixed day, free of cost, assured comprehensive quality antenatal care every month universally to all the pregnant women in the second and third trimester of pregnancy. Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan, right? Free of cost, assured comprehensive and quality antenatal care. Antenatal care, that means during the pregnant time, they can go to government at least every month in a particular day. They will show to the government for regular checkup. As a part of the campaign, minimum package of antenatal care services provided by the pregnant women at the government health facilities in both urban and rural areas. So the premium package of antenatal care services are provided so that we can reduce the issues of maternal mortality or child mortality, or that is infant mortality. Using the principle of single window system, it is envisaged that minimum package of investigation and medicines such as IPA, calcium supplements would be provided to all pregnant women attending the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Yojana clinics. Critical component: identification and follow-up of high-risk pregnancies. Identification of high-risk pregnancies and red stickers were added on the mother and child protection cards of women with high-risk pregnancies. So, in case of high risk pregnancies, that are their critical component to reduce the maternal mortality and infant mortality. Government is providing special focus to those in those cases by utilizing the by the red stickers, right? So there is filter out. Then changes in the UPI. Government announced additional function for UPI payments platforms. What are new changes? UPI currently includes functionally under recurring payments and single block payments. It is now being enhanced to allow customers to block funds in their account for multiple payments for a specific nature. Yes, now the customers, you can pay multiple payments at the same time in one click also. That will be also allowed. For example, if you have 10 employees, you want to send simultaneously money to everybody, then that will be also allowed. This is expected to improve the ease of making payments for online shopping and investment in securities. With a new feature, the merchant can make multiple debits up to a permitted amount. The feature will also helpful in the purchase of government securities. Merchant can make multiple debits to a permitted account. Multiple debits can happen at the same time, and implementation. Separate instructions will be issued to the National Payments Corporation in NPCI to implement the enhancement. A separate instruction to be issued to NPCI. NPCI is National Payment Corporation of India. It is established under Payment and Settlement Act of 2007. So that will allow these features to UPI. RBI Governor also announced the expansion of the scope of Bharat Bill Payment System (BBPS) to include all payments and collections. About UPI, Unified Payment Interface, instant real-time payment system developed by National Payment Corporation of India, that is NPCI. The interface facilitates interbank peer-to-peer, person-to-merchant transactions. UPI also, person to merchant, by UPI you are also paying the online payments. Various types of payments can be made by UPI. Okay. Transfer of funds, it is used on mobile devices to instantly transfer funds between two bank accounts. The mobile number of the device is required to be registered in the bank. If the mobile number is registered, then UPI can be created and easily money can be transmitted from one bank account to another bank account just by knowing the mobile number. The UPI ID is of the recipient can be used to transfer money. There is also another UPI ID. If a particular person have multiple bank accounts, then UPI ID can be used to transfer money. Function and regulation. It runs on open source of application programming interface on top of immediate payment services (IMPS) regulated by Reserve Bank of India. So yes, open source IMPS. So the functions are immediate payment to the other person or merchant by UPI. Now the question is, establishment of smaller states can improve the administrative structure of India, but does not come without a challenge. Let's establish smaller states. It will improve the administrative structure. Better monitoring. For example, monitoring like states like UP, it's very difficult. It's a very big state to manage. The demand for creation of smaller states has been one of the most widely debated issues, which is based on language, culture, and ethnicity, religion. Right, different states has been demanded. So the establishment of new small states since the independence has fulfilled aspiration of masses, improved political participation, but it has created new challenges. What are new challenges? New state has been created, new challenges are there. What are the benefits of new creating smaller states? Better administration, obviously, better focus, improved administration, factual analysis of development report. For example, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, and Chhattisgarh. 2014 they are created. So all of them have shown remarkable annual growth in the development and efficiency in the administration. By creating smaller states, remarkable annual growth has been witnessed. Getting a state of its own releases untapped and neglected growth potential of the people with the creation of small new states by control over the resources. Better political participation. The creation of new smaller states lead to greater interaction of political parties with the people, thereby making government more responsible and accountable. So better political participation. Suppose I am chief minister for few crore people, then there will be much better accountability, right? Much better accountability, making the government more responsible, more accountable, and the benefits of smaller states. Economic efficiency, political stability that arises for better representation of people creates conducive environment or investment in the region, thereby encouraging regional economic development. Economic efficiency. Yes, better regional economic development will occur. That is the positive. Better development prospects, human development, gender equality, reduction of maternal mortality. That will also occur by small kids. Then cultural homogeneity, greater social homogeneity in India. There should be a higher number of states. So two very diverse groups are there. So there will be cultural homogeneity. Then conflict emerge. Small states with socio-cultural homogeneity can lead to better distribution of resources for better long-term cooperation. But what are the challenges to smaller states? Different states would may lead to hegemony of dominant community. Over the other power structures. There's a possibility to increase the interstate water dispute, power dispute, boundary dispute. There are already disputes. There's regional rivalries also emerges of inter-regional rivalries. When state basically divide, violence also occurs. Creation of smaller states only transfer power from the old state to the new capital without empowering already existing institutions like Gram Panchayat, district collector, or rather diffusion of development in the backwards areas of the state. Without doing that, it causes huge expenditure also, because you have to create two new capitals, right? Two new capitals, two new secretariats, two new legislature, all these things, infrastructure development, two new cities to be developed. There is no proven evidence that small states lead to better social indicators. While analyzing socio-economic development of new states, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Uttarakhand, there is a contrary opinion as well. Uttarakhand continues to be end in Human Development Index. Smaller states do not enough revenue in the state. There is not enough revenue. Right. Creation of new states means establishing new administrative machineries. So that also creates fiscal pressure on the government. There is a huge fiscal expenditure on the government. Okay. So this is all about today, and the lectures ends here. Like and share and subscribe to Manikayas. Thank you. So what to do? So you have to develop the existing infrastructure. Focus on the backward areas of a particular state.